Hello and welcome to part 99. In this video, we will understand what is the difference between action, func, and predicate and delegate. So let's get started and try to understand this. As we have previously seen, action, func, and predicate are generic delegates, and these delegates are predefined by .NET. We can just directly go ahead and use them. But in this video, we will see what are the differences between these three delegates. The main difference between func, action, and predicate will comes when we look at the return type and the type of parameter that they are returning and the number of parameter that they can support. So let's understand first what func can do. Func can work with a method that is having 0 to 16 input parameters of different type. Different types because func is a generic delegate. That's why we can pass different type of parameters when working with a func delegate. The only thing is func should have a return type. If the function is not returning anything, meaning if your function is returning void, in that case you cannot use the func delegate. Okay, so now let's understand the action delegate. Action delegate can support 1 to 60 input parameter, but it does not have any return value. So basically action can be used with any method that is having input parameters from 1 to 16 and it does not have any return type, meaning it can only be used for the methods which are having void return type. You can notice the difference here. Func can be used where we have return type, right? And action can be used where we have the return type as void, meaning there is no return type of that method. Okay, so now let's see what is predicate. Predicate can be used when the method is having one input parameter and it has the return type of Boolean. So the rules are very strict in case of predicate. Predicate delegate can only point to the methods which are returning either true or false and which are having only one input parameter, and it can be of any type. You can notice these return types when you are declaring these delegates. If I show you func delegate here, and if you notice here, there are 17 delegates available, and the first one is only having one return type, meaning one output parameter is there. And the second one is having one input parameter and one output parameter. So it is mandatory to have one output parameter when we are working with delegates. So it cannot be used with the methods which are having void return type. Okay, so you can see all the implementation here from 1 to 17, all are having at least one output type here, right? Similarly, if we see action, it has 16 implementations. If you see, it has one input parameter, second one is having two input parameter, third one having three, and so on. And if you notice here, there is no output parameter here because action delegate can only point to the methods which are having void return type. And similarly, if you see predicate is having only one implementation. If you want to know more about action, predicate, and func delegate, you can watch the previous 3 videos of this playlist. On these slides, we have some method signatures and we have mentioned which delegate can be used. So let's understand the first one. First one is having return type as void and is having two input parameters. One is of integer and second one is of Boolean. Because we have the return type as void, so we can only use action delegate here. We cannot use predicate delegate because predicate delegate needs a method that is having a Boolean return type. And we cannot use func delegate because func can only be used with methods which are having a return type. Second one is having Boolean return type and is having one input parameter. We can use func here also because we have seen func is having one implementation which takes one input parameter and one output parameter, but the most suitable one here is predicate because predicate is specially designed delegate that can work with methods which are having one input parameter and return type of that method should be Boolean. So predicate is the most suitable predicate here. Third one is having the integer as the return type and Boolean as the input parameter. So we cannot use action because action will only work with void. Predicate will only work with Boolean return type. So the only option left is func because in func we have the implementation that takes one input parameter and one output parameter, right? So the func is the right option here to use. The last one is having void as a return type, and it is not taking any parameter. Because predicate can only work with the return type which are Boolean, and func can only work with the methods which are having a return type instead of void. So the action is the only option left, because in action we can use methods which are not taking any parameter and having the return type as void. Now I want to show you some real case scenarios where these delegates are used actually in .NET to create fire and forget pattern. If you notice, what is the expectation of the run method? Run method is taking an action delegate, because we are implementing fire and forget pattern. In that case, we don't want anything to be returned from our method, so the action is the most suitable delegate in this case. That's why run method is expecting a action delegate. Okay. Similarly, if you notice, when we are working with a list, so I have a list of string data type, and when we want to check any condition in the list using, let's say, exist condition, like I want to find if something is existing in my list or not. If you notice, the what is the expectation of exist method? Exist method is taking a predicate. Okay. So we have to provide a predicate delegate here like this access state, and we can mention our condition that will be returned it's true or false, right? So exist method is expecting a predicate here, because exist method will check a condition and tell if the element is present or not. So this is about the predicate delegate. And let's see one example where the func delegate is used. Let's create a class. Okay, so I have my customer class here, and let's create a list of customers. I have created a customers list, and I have added 3 customers to my list, and I have defined the appropriate name, age, and city. Now let's say the requirement is I want to create a new list of customer that is having only name and the age property. We don't want to show the city of that customer. In this case, we can use the select method that is available in the list class. So first let's create a class of new customer that is having only 2 properties, that is name and age. Okay, like this. So we want to create a list of new customers object, right, using this customers list. So in that case, what I can do, I can call customers dot select. And if you see what select will take, select will take a func. Okay, it will take a func where I need to specify the input parameter and the output parameter, right? So which object I want to pass to select parameter and which object I want to get in the return. So I want to pass the customer object and I want a new customer object back from it, right? And how I want to map it, that I will define within my select method. So I will pass the delegate here. Okay, so my delegate will take a customer object, let's say X. Okay, and I will say what I want to return. I want to return a new customer object like this, and which will have the name property as X dot name, and that will have the age properties as X dot age. And I can perform any other operation here also. Let's say I want to change the name to uppercase in my new list. So I can use to upper method like this. Once that is done, you can store this list in some list type of variable. Let me store it in new customer list. And now if you notice, we are getting a compilation error here, because when we run select method, it will return us the I enumerable, but we want to store this in a list type, so we need to invoke dot list method also. Once you add the dot to list at the end, you will notice compilation error is gone, and now we can use a for each loop and iterate through this list and see if we got the new list or not. So this is my for each loop. I am printing the name and the age. Let's run the program now. You can see we are getting our new list here, and as you can see, the name is in now uppercase. So this is how func delegate can be used in some real case scenarios. That's it for this video guys. In the next video, we will understand what is an event in C#.